Good evening, everybody, and I'm calling our meeting to order. This is our council meeting, committee as a whole. Would you please take the roll?
Councilmember Pointer.
Here.
Councilmember Sherburne.
Here.
Councilmember Gray.
Here.
Councilmember Schmidt.
I'm here.
Councilmember Dietrich.
Here.
Do you need a water or anything?
No.
You're okay? All right. Okay. So we're gonna get started here with the first item on our agenda with our. I don't need a motion to approve anything because we're not doing anything. So first item is West Main Street Sewer Main Relocation Project.
Okay, so if you recall, Wes came in to talk to us a little bit about relocating the sanitary sewer line that follows that waterway by just north of the subway there. The idea here was to potentially relocate that sewer main, make it a little easier for us to access it, for doing maintenance, but also to allow him to dig out a large area for stormwater retention, is far up there as well. Preliminary numbers are coming in from the estimated costs are reaching closer to $100,000. And I'm not sure where the council wants to go with this as far as any sort of economic development. For the city, it makes sense for us to be able to relocate the sewer main, for us to be able to then access it so we can maintain it. But it's not critical that we do so at this time. So this really is enabling him to develop his property to be able to sell, which obviously then we see commercial development going out there that does provide us with an economic development for the city of Manchester. So there is some, typically when we're doing economic development, we do some assistance. But I'm not sure what level you guys are comfortable at as far as providing any sort of assistance on that. There's benefit to both of us. But I'm not sure if it's 100% the city to do the relocation. Because yes, it does benefit us and it's way easier for us to access it. It's not critical for us to do so at this time. And so as we try to figure out what we want to do, we're gonna have to start negotiating at some point as far as the economic development aspect of this, and I need some direction.
Can he build what he wants to build without us relocating?
He can, it's a little bit more difficult. Part of what he's wanting to use that larger stormwater detention area as part to accomplish what he needs to do for his stormwater detention, but it's the fill out of there that he would get then to raise that property up to bring it up out of the floodplain. Part of the challenge we run into is because of the way that sanitary sewer cuts across there. Subway and Dairy Queen have their service lines going into that sanitary sewer. And they're in elevation there across that back portion. And it's kind of a weird T sitting in there. And so if we left those, you have to dig around them to get the stormwater detention in there. I think that may cause other issues as we're exposing or putting less cover over those sewer lines.
This is the one that was brought up, I mean, when you first talked about it last week, I think you preheated us at the meeting last week about that, it said it might kind of take care of a couple problems though.
It does, because we have a couple manholes that you can't get to when it's wet. And even when it was dry out there, and I think when we relocated the water main or replaced the water main, we had to have dewatering done, and that's really what's causing the issue. That's the expense, is trying to figure out how much dewatering you need to do in order to be able to get in there and dig. And so that's a challenge for anyone trying to figure out what their exposure level is. And it might be something where the council may want to look at and say, okay, we'll do a cost share on it. But we're going to cap our exposure at X, not to exceed. And if he wants to do it and move forward because he's developing those lots for sale, then he's got a cost too.
Yeah, because one of the problems we have out there is seepage, isn't it, Perry? You tell me.
Yeah, and when during a real wet year, the flows really go up at that lift station behind Dollar Tree, you know. That sanitary sewer basically runs right underneath that waterway, all the way over to North 13th Street.
And it is clay pipe, so you know, the joints are what, every 2 foot?
3 foot, right?
3 foot.
3 foot there.
They're not known to be the greatest at being sealed up. Prior to any development out there, it was kind of helpful because it did provide us some flow to keep things flushed and move through, but now with the jail out there and the issues they've caused and more development out there, we're best to handle it. get it resolved.
What kind of shape is that pipe in? I mean, are we talking, I have no idea.
We have not done any inspections on that pipe in years and years, but I mean, it's old clay pipe in a waterway, I mean.
So you can't tell me
It
when it's
can't
gonna
be,
break?
it can't be good, but there's never been a whole lot of flow on it, we've never really worried about it, but now that you have the jail, Norby, you know, all that stuff out there in it. It's seen a lot more flow, but the relocation of the main would get it past what Lextron Animal Health put in for detention basin just off of
11th Street, yeah, 11th Street.
So, you know, we would take, once you get west of there, it gets a lot drier. So we'd get our sanitary sewer out of the crazy wet part.
Have you had any trouble this time since the jail has moved out there? Have you had any trouble with that particular?
Yeah, we had to put the trash basket in, that lift station never had a trash basket, but with all the extra stuff that gets flushed down, we had to put trash basket and everything in there, which is cleaned every 2 weeks, because there's a lot more towels and stuff that get flushed down the toilets. But
Must be Murphy doing that.
Yeah, so that's kind of the reason I have this up for tonight because we talked about it. And when I first started looking at this, I was thinking it was probably gonna be in the ballpark of 50,000. But now we've got 100,000. That's an expenditure that it's a benefit to us, but it's not critical.
Do you have a precedence that we've done it like this before, where it's been a cost share for something like this, or not? No,
Of Joe.
relocation of a sewer.
not on a relocation.
The hospital will be the only one without water main when they did their addition. But I can't think of anything else.
What do we do in that situation?
I believe the hospital paid.
It was a share.
It was a share,
Yeah,
cause when was that? 15, I think. Yeah,
Well, I think
I can't remember when the cost share.
I think it'd be beneficial for both parties, us and West, to share in the expense of that. It's gonna definitely benefit us. As more development comes out there, that'll alleviate our problem.
correct.
Alleviate his problem to be able to do that. I think we should do maybe a 50-50 split,
Do you want to do a 50/50 or not to exceed a certain amount?
not to exceed maybe 50 grand.
I think that would cover us, that limits our exposure. It helps offset his costs, but this way, he can then contract with somebody that wants to do the dewatering, because they're also going to do the stormwater detention area. Wes isn't, he'll probably want more money, but me, I think that's a fair thing for us to do. It moves it out of his area, it gives him a better chance to claim more dirt, enhance his stormwater detention area, but it also alleviates the problem for us, and we want that to be done too.
I like the idea of capping it, Brian. I think that's wise
Yeah.
for us because.
Yeah.
You never know what you're gonna get when you get in there, you have a problem.
How many businesses and residents and all that other stuff out in that neighborhood are gonna use this sewer line?
Again, we're north of West Main Street, and so there's not a lot of development at this time,
At this time,
but, everything that's along West Howard Street ties into it. And so when we see that development going to the north of West Howard, that's where it ties into it as well, so that's a future.
And everything over behind Norby's and
Yep.
all those lots around Norby's is, that all comes through there.
Black Hills.
Yeah,
Yeah, so if anything,
what else up through there?
if anything goes in to Curly's.
Definitely, all that curly lot,
That's all gonna be.
that's gonna all be part of that.
Going down that line.
Are we supposed to do it too? Yeah, we're gonna go down that.
All right,
yeah, like one of those things that, I mean, as far as how to pay for it, I don't know, but definitely something that we need to look into doing. I mean, we would expand that I mean, again, you know, what, go back to the Grand Ave, I mean, you're looking 20, 30 years out, what we could bring ourselves by doing that road. This might be another project we have to look a little bit further out than we can see right now.
Yeah, Barry, do you know when that line was put in?
That line we put in,
When that cemetery sewer went through there?
Back when Perry
before
first started.
way before 1989.
Like the first or second year, Perry worked here.
The fifties?
It was there when I started in 89,
So obviously it's been quite a while.
and it was not in good shape back then.
So, to me, I think.
You're gonna do it right the first time rather than have them go back and do it again.
So I will be back and work with Wes on seeing what we can do, but I will mention that we're gonna do a cap, cost share with a cap.
Yeah.
So, and see what we can pull together there, so that way, again, he's developing or getting that lot ready for him to sell, so that's on him to have some expenditure there too. Okay, thank you for your guidance on that.
Yep, all right. Highway 13 and Burrington Road intersection safety concern, I believe everybody saw the letter from Raymond Jane Phillipson. And you have some updates on this, Tim, about,
Yeah, I did talk to, I think it's Emily Stoll with the IDOT. She had some questions out there. The challenge we have out there is the fact that it is a three-way ownership of that intersection, because part of it's in the county, part of it's in the city and state owned. So part of, the city has 25% of the intersection in the city's right of way. The county has 25%, and state has the ownership of the road, so they kind of classify it as 25, 25, 50. Because state has control of that. Some of the things we talked about is accident history out there. We know we've had 2 fatalities out there, but one of them's been over 10 years ago, so they really only look at the last 10 years. Near misses really don't count a whole lot. Challenge there is how you report what's going on there. We've had officers out there patrolling Highway 13 now, getting some speeds out there, and was informed of a couple higher speeds out there have come through. So I've asked Chief Davis and the officers to continue to patrol, even though part of it is in the county and we can't file city charges for the speed, we can still file state charges and try to get people slowed down. Visibility and what's the current turning situation up there as far as trucks and traffic and potential developments going on out there. And so with our industrial park, seeing some additions, expansions, with number of trucks coming in, Casey's and VP having expanded their operations a little bit. Plus what we're seeing with Joe, that intersection is gonna see a lot more traffic coming through it. The question is whether additional turn lanes are warranted, traffic lighting, intersection lighting, and slowing the speed down there to maybe 45 miles an hour. So the state is going through it. They want to verify that the city was willing to partner with this, and the county, I suggest the city's absolutely willing to partner on this. See what we can do to improve the conditions of that intersection. As soon as we get a report back from them, bring it back. One of the things I do want to see though is lights at that intersection. So there will probably be a cost share, be my guess, to put street lights up out there.
Lights like overhead,
Overhead lights.
It's dark out there.
It is
It's
very
really
dark.
out there.
you know, it's crazy, but that yellow light on North Franklin Street, when that baby lights up, people slow right down, so. It'd be neat to see, even if it had a pad on either side, that if a car came up, but you got the intersection there at Casey's, you got all of them. But to see a light like that flashing all the time could,
People go blind to the lights too. They do, the signs and lights. Again, we drive past properties that have a nuisance out there every day of the week, and we just get immune to it. I mean, it just, you see it all the time, so you don't think anything of it. But the challenge out there is the amount of traffic that's going in and out of there. And then when we get the fall, and when they're doing the harvest and tractors and wagons and to the elevator too, so. I'm not sure what the right answer is out there, but I'm hoping we get some answers from the DOT and things that they're willing to work with us on.
Yeah, it'd definitely be nice to not have some of the intersections right there in that one spot. You don't ignore the lights when you're on a bike, I promise.
Yeah, well, again, there's only left turn lanes in right now. And it may come back that we have to have right turn lanes, but there's still some visibility issues.
Yeah.
You know, you get cars backed up, so it's really best if we get them slowed down first. Ben, do you have anything?
No, we just got it out there, we've been catching stuff, and just over hearing the goods and the bads about the patrol and extra, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely, we can articulate, if we need to steps. Articulate how many stops we've done in the last like 45 days since we started doing them, so I've even had a couple on mine and stuff.
Okay. And when do they hope to maybe start this?
I
You don't know.
think you can't answer that.
All right, any further questions on that? We'll move on to the next item, no parking request by St. Mary's School.
That's in the package.
Yep, was a letter from Brian Jasper.
So, St. Mary's is asking the same thing. We've heard requests from West Delaware School District as well as far as parking concerns they have next to the school when they do bus pickup and drop off. When they have events at St. Mary's. So they're looking, the way I understand this letter is they're just looking for the area in front of St. Mary's School. No parking on the opposite side of the street, so it's easier for the bus to get in and out. And kids aren't running across to the north side of the street to get into a car. They're asking for Monday through Friday, you know, from 7:30 to 3:30 hours in school. If we look at this and do this, you know, understand that we've also got other requests from West Delaware on Prospect Street and New Street. You know, Allison's not here. I talked to her a little earlier. There are a number of parents that wait in the library parking lot to go down and pick kids up after they're done. So there may be more people waiting in those parking lots, just to get in and out. If you go down River Street, when it's time to pick kids up,
All the way down to Bushel and back, and sometimes wrapped up on the main.
so
And isn't there a business also across the street there? Is that hairdresser still there or not?
Yeah.
Down further, it'd be past it, but people are still parking there
yeah,
to pick up kids probably, yeah.
On the, it's both sides of the road, it's full tight then.
then again, I think their enrollment's up. So,
Well, yeah, we just got a bunch of vouchers, so.
so then you got more parents dropping kids off and picking kids up.
So would we be better off, I mean, I'm not against. Would we be better off going from 7:30 till 9 or whatever, and then,
It's enforcement. At that point, it's really difficult. If you just do a block of time, from 7:30 to 3:30, then the police officers can enforce it pretty easy. But, okay, if you do that, and there's something going on at the school, maybe the kids, some event going on, parents are trying to park next to the school, so they go on for whatever break they have to watch the event, they can't park there. Now you're pushing things further away.
I think the ones that we have signed up by Lambert are no parking 7 to 4 school days.
Yeah.
I think
If it wasn't a school day and they had an event, it would still be part of
parking. Yeah. I think that's the way that reads.
Yeah.
The only thing that I get concerned about, like, I think this is a good idea to do this. The only thing is on the north side, those are all houses.
Yeah.
So how many of those people are not using their driveway because of whatever reason and they're parking in the street? Now where do they park?
Yeah, a lot of them have alley
The
access.
alley on the backside.
Right, so in that location, there are very limited driveways, aren't there?
Ross has got his right at the beginning. On to the east.
That alley ends,
And then don't go over
it ends quite a ways, it would be on the west end of the no parking.
Yeah,
You won't get to the no parking area.
so I would encourage you to go out and look at the site itself.
Yeah.
And again, walk from the east side of the school to the west side of the school and look through there, to see what kind of impact we'd have on them.
Mhm.
But I'm not sure how many parking stalls that might take up. Jason will look into that, see if we.
Yeah, we got the,
How many of those kids are supposed to be riding buses?
A lot of them come from the, St. Mary's, then they go over to West Delaware, ride the same bus with West Delaware kids, right?
When they jump on the bus, we got cars,
Buses.
yeah, parked up there just to pick kids up
Yeah,
for whatever reason, you know, they need to pick them up.
that's the way they did it back in my day.
And they assigned to say during school hours or during school.
This says on school days.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monday through Friday, so, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
you can limit it that way. But I know that they still have events, they still have Grandparents' Day,
know.
they have different, festivals or whatever comes up where grandparents or parents come visit the kids.
I'll try to stop by and see Brian too and see what they're looking for distance. I mean, if they're looking at 5 parking stalls or.
And does the one by Lambert say during the school year too, so like in the
I
summer?
think it's just school days.
Oh, just school days,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Do they use the other part, you know, like where they park at church? Do they use that back area that anybody gets excused out that back area? Do you
I
know?
don't think so.
That's all.
Playground.
We're over by the playground
They
in
use
that way?
it during funerals. Yeah, I believe they use it during funerals.
But kids can't go out for recess.
Right.
Or just out of curiosity, how come they didn't come up through the church into the back parking lot, pull in and then leave? Left or right, go wherever they wanted instead of wrapping around the whole block.
I can't answer that.
And
That whole area west of the west door is all teacher parking, so it's basically blocked off to where they fence it for recess.
Yeah.
And you're just following all that traffic, you know, they're hard spots for.
Mhm.
Because right now, the way it goes, you're following them. As they pick up their kids and leave, you're following to a traffic control light that then helps with the traffic, the flow of traffic.
Right.
Those you're gonna shut all the, Fayette Street, controlled intersection there, or they're gonna try squirting out down by, the chiropractor and.
Right.
Hardens.
Or visibility is even worse.
yeah,
And then it's not even any easier if you're down, even if they went the other way down River Street and then getting on Franklin, it's
that's just the best evil we have.
just not the best spot.
So that's one of the things, and then last fall, Jason Haight and I met with, Tim Feldman, the former high school principal, and Matt Weiss regarding, no parking potential on the north side of Prospect Street in front of the football fields during football games.
And Liberty Street been begging for it pretty bad as well. On the north side of Liberty Street would be what they would, in front of the fire hydrant and everything.
And the challenge you run into is you're just pushing cars further away.
I think Ben is probably getting tired of the phone calls coming from my sister. Because straight in front of her driveway is a fire hydrant that they park in front of all the time, and then she can't get out her driveway. So,
So, we will bring this back to you at the next committee meeting, but please take, between now and then, stop out and look at what we're talking about. Jason will,
And if I can get a confirmed from Brian, I'll put a couple white flags.
That would be
there
helpful,
so you
because
guys can
otherwise
see them.
you don't
That
know
way
how
we
far-
know it's,
Yeah.
I'll stop in there and chat with you tomorrow.
why don't you paint the curb white?
Yeah, I can just put
That
a,
way they don't,
don't
you
put a
know,
flag, I'll put a
When they're
white one
blowing.
on top of her.
we can put a flag in there. Paul.
See the white.
Yeah.
they're just wanting right in front of the school where they got the cutout, where they made it where they get closer to the front door.
I think that's
Basically from
probably
front to front.
Yeah,
I think their biggest concern is the crosswalk, while
Yeah.
kids coming and going to the library.
No,
The biggest I've seen is from what is bump out is to the library, because that's where parents park and wait, and don't go through the.
yeah.
No,
Go
that
through
makes
the line, it
sense.
seems to work pretty well.
That
actually,
makes sense.
Especially if you show up at the.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay. Any more questions on that? All right, Senate file 303 and fireworks.
All right, just so you know, this did pass, and the governor did sign this Senate File 303. This prohibits cities from, this restricts cities from prohibiting fireworks from being discharged in the city limits on July 3rd, July 4th, between the hours of 9 AM to 11 PM. And then on December 31st, I'm not sure what the hours are until January 1, about 1 AM, I think it is. So it's after midnight hour for New Year's.
And we have the draft ordinance from Iowa Constitution, so we'll have them on the agenda Monday night because we need to amend our code.
And that'll be 3 readings, so we're gonna do all 3 of them at the same time. And then we're working with police departments so they're aware of it.
Yeah, so the calls you get will be null and void. I still think, did they say anything in it about if we are in a burn ban, if there is any?
Yeah.
The That's still an attorney question. But yeah, that's the biggest thing, if there's any questions on that, but, we should start seeing the displays go up here pretty soon.
Not before, so we can still enforce it though, except for
On
those
any other-
days.
Any other day other than those 3 days.
Proposed utility rate increase.
As we discussed during our budget work session, we looked at increasing water and sewer at 7% across the board. Inside the facts there, we talked about, what that does to the average homeowner, on an increased basis. So when you look at 7% of the water and 7% of the sewer, a homeowner that uses 3,000 gallons per month would see their utility bill for water sewer go up by $3.42. If they use 10,000 gallons a month, it's $8.40 per month. They would see their bill go up by, based on a 7% increase in water base rate, water per thousand rate, sewer base rate, sewer per thousand gallon rate. Staff is wanting to get this moving forward. If they're going to do the increase. July 1's coming awfully soon. We'd at least like to get the first reading, if the council's in agreement, we will put this on for council for first reading, and when they try to do the second, third reading fairly quickly. I don't like to do all three at one night,
No.
but we have to have time in order to update our software and print the bills and publish. So more likely it won't go into effect until first bill in August,
The bill that goes up in July,
end of July bill, so
depending on,
the bills due on the 10th.
we are earlier this month, but. Yeah,
What's earlier this month?
the meeting, June 23rd, it's the second meeting, so,
But it still has to be published in the paper.
Yeah, right.
Before it becomes effective.
On an average home, you're looking at 367 for water sewer.
342.
342.
Yeah, $3.42, for 3,000 gallons usage on last page, if you look.
For normal families.
Yeah, for smaller households.
I don't think it adds up. You have the first 2 pages.
Yeah.
It doesn't add up.
No, I got 360.
That's what happens when you let Tim do the math instead of Aaron.
thank you, Joe.
The no usage one is wrong too.
What's that?
I think your no usage one is wrong too, so.
No.
Something's wrong with that formula then.
7% is what we already discussed as a council
Yeah.
to go with
Correct.
everything.
Yeah,
Although your math is off, we're still going with the 7%.
Yeah,
that's what we'll put on the proposed ordinance
Yes,
for
sir.
Monday.
yeah, we will get the math correct. I'm not sure where
As far as, with the 7% rate, are we ahead of the cost of what it takes to give the water and sewer, or are we still behind?
If you review those annual reports, you'll see some of that go, but
We're making
Yeah.
gains.
we're gaining, but
With 7% more though, we're gonna still be behind.
we're still gonna be holding our own.
Right.
But a massive issue,
Our permit expires January 1st, the wastewater plant.
Mhm.
In the next, what, 18 months after that, 3 years before we get our new permit. We'll see what happens, but I don't wanna get us behind too far that all of a sudden we have to add something in our new permit and we're millions of dollars.
And we can't afford it,
yeah,
type thing.
and,
I think when we talked a year ago, wasn't it? I mean, we would have had to jump up like 20.
Yes.
Yeah.
It wouldn't really
Yeah.
break even, we'd have to jump up to like 21% or something like that.
Yeah,
We've been just incrementally increasing.
yeah.
yeah.
So like in next year's budget, the water department, and again, we're conservative on expenditures, we budget high, blah, blah, blah. We're about 90,000 revenues over expenditures. And the expenditures are down next year over this year in the water department. In the sewer department, we're ahead $16,000. And again, their expenditures are down next year over their. Over this year, so, we're not making huge gains, but we are at least coming
Right.
positive.
I don't know, Perry's pretty expensive, I don't know.
I'm waiting to spend money with the new budget.
Right now. He's already shopping online on what you gotta buy or what.
Stuff that needs some attention. Can wait till the last one, but it's gonna get attention.
Nobody's happy with the rates, but we've got to do it.
Yeah, we gotta do something.
We have no choice.
For us to be fiscally responsible, we need to do it. We had Maggie Burr do that presentation last year. That's who provided us our results. And this is a continuation of that, getting the rates structured back where they were supposed to be. We had a number of years where it was 1% increase or 2% increase. And it didn't quite match what we needed.
Right.
You know, and as opposed to like property taxes, utility rates are spread across, you know, everybody in the community.
Yeah.
Entities and renters and
It's usage.
and all of that.
Yeah.
And if that bill didn't go through with the sewer and water,
Where they were capping what we could raise the rate by,
Right.
that's correct. That did not get passed.
and that's kind of one of the things that I kind of think about in the back of my mind is, you know, we keep doing this bigger jump to get caught up. It's probably in our best interest to get caught up before we get capped.
Yeah.
Cause then we probably will never be able to catch up at that point.
Well, I'm not sure how they're going to legally be able to do that because we could not meet DNR requirements at that point. Because some of these smaller cities have to build new sewer plants in order for them to meet the restrictions that are placed on them for the discharges. And a new wastewater plant, you know, I think Monticello's spending $28 million with this. And that's a challenge for any town. Their population 3,500.
Costs the same in any town.
And Osceola just lived there a couple years back, wasn't that the one that they spent?
Yeah, yeah.
$1 million or something?
Any further questions on that? Okay, item 3.6, talking about changing some structures,
Yeah.
organization here. a little
And
bit.
so what we're proposing here is moving the fire, or the police chief to under the city manager for responsibilities.
We've been talking about it. for a
We've
while.
talked about it for a while. This, the timing is now we have a new chief. The mayor is in agreement with this. Cities of Owens and Independence. Police chief reports to the city manager. We've had staff here that assumed that was the case as well. So, city manager is the paid professional that you bring in that's trained to handle this and is full-time. I think that's probably the bigger thing is
Yes.
full-time. And interacts with the police department and police chief on a regular basis.
Go for it.
It's a good idea.
As far as like organizational, it's still. So they answer to you, not the mayor,
Correct.
but then,
Well, we still talk.
We also work.
We all still work together, but it's
Right.
just if they have somebody who needs to come.
that would give you the power. to make a
Immediate
decision
assistance.
Right now, rather
Yeah,
than get a hold of the
Yeah.
mayor. and say,
Council?
"Is this okay?"
Yeah.
The council will still have authorization to approve the
Right.
appointment. Basically, we switch it, so I'm appointing the police chief instead of the mayor appointing the police chief, but it's with council approval.
right.
So if Ben decides to not be here and we have to hire his replacement, you pick him as long as we agree to it.
Correct. And as we did this process when hiring them, it's bringing in a firm to search for them, working with the team, because it is such a high position in the community.
No.
But like I said, it's. the
If I
same
worked
position.
full-time, if I was here full-time, it'd be one thing, but this is
Right.
not a full-time
Right.
position. And so sometimes they need somebody who can make decisions right now, so it just makes more sense.
So financially, Aaron does the budget, but I'm responsible for that too.
Right.
So we work with them in the budget areas, and then when we do labor negotiations, union contract, I'm part of that as well, so I'm really seeped into it already. We will get the proposal put together for the ordinance amendment and bring it back to you for a review. Again, it's a review the first time and see what changes or concerns you may have.
Street resurfacing request by Mark Vick.
So we had the request from Mark Bank to resurface, Acre Street. We didn't have the money in the budget, it wasn't planned for. I understand Mr. Fink has been out to talk to the council members about the project. He's also brought up concerning us regarding the center, the storm sewer at the end of Line Street that goes down private property, that is not inside an easement area. And so I've asked Ryan Wicks, and Ryan, you wanna step up? Sure. And talk about, the work that you guys have done and what you've done.
You want the podium?
You know, the podium, Ryan?
Might be out there.
Yeah, as you were, Tim asked us to take a look at some documents. Easements, project plans. Basically, we pulled recorded information to look at Line Street specifically. I got something in this video. There should be one for everybody.
Nobody else?
What I handed out there is the storm sewer easement that's recorded and actually a project plan from Tri-State Engineers. The plan in front of you was prepared in 1969. There's not a lot of detail on dates from our records. It looks like it was built in 1970 on Line Street. The portion you see there is from Fifth Street west to the outlet. The easement there is between Harry Sands and the city, Harry and his wife. And the city, yeah. So that was dated the spring of 1971. So Sands owned basically all of what would be Line Street roadway right away from Fifth West at the time of the development of the project in the easement in 1970. So the area on that plan sheet that's in green is represents what's in the easement agreement from that spring. The easement was 40 foot wide. It is all north of, in essence, the center line of Line Street where the section line through there. It's really, I tried to show on the plan where the fence lines were. So the fence line south of that dark line was pretty much the extension of what Line Street was. There was no street there. It was a farm drive, gravel drive, dirt road at the time. And there was a fence on each side, on the north side and south side. That south fence line was more or less a section fence line. They did own both sides. So from what we can see, and I don't know if Aaron had any time to look for any project documents or anything to confirm the construction in 1970, but there was plan alignment that was on north of that fence line. There's some notes on here. It shows that what appears to be built one correlates what's shown in the aerial photo. We didn't go out and survey anything. We do have the outlet shot from the GIS work in the past and pretty much correlates to the photo there. That line was put south of that fence line, west of Fifth Street. So the manholes in the intersection line Fifth, it angles southwest to south of that fence line or section line, and then continues west to an outlet. So then, at the time of construction, it appears Sands owned everything. We do not find a document that changes or amended or updated that easement under Sands' name. Well, we searched under Sands' name. In 1971, Sands sold that area south of the fence line to the house. First, yeah, 71. So 70 was the easement, 70 we believe was the construction, 71 and 71 they sold that to housers. There's been development since that time, change of hands multiple times, few plats. In essence, the right of way at Line Street is documented and exists from Fifth Street west to the west side of the senior living property. That's all documented showing as public right of way. From there west, it is private access easements or private road. There's also water main easement through that. Again, we haven't field located. I believe that the water main is in the easement. I think Chad located it out there. Did you, Chad? Did you locate the water main? Yeah. Does it appear to follow that easement, you know, or?
I don't know where the easement is, I was looking by. When I'm here without, so. Where it's at.
So. Black and white per the easement that Stone Fruit does not appear to be within the easement. But it's been there for 50 years. And the property owner at the time that we believe it was installed on the entire area.
Mhm.
So we just don't have any documentation of approved changes or agreed changes.
So this is what Mr. Fink has talked to us about. There needs to be a change, and this was brought up when he was asking about his road or Anchor Street being paved or resurfaced. Then there's always the conversation of when do we do that road? Nothing has changed in over 50 years as far as that road is concerned. It's not been widened. It's not to the minimum street requirements. We have a 66-foot right of way through there. There are utilities on the north side of Line Street. That's where you see the telephone poles are. And we do have some water main on the west side of Acre Street where it comes across. And then it goes down along the fence line on the Wendling side of the property there. We have an easement through there, and that's what was obtained. So I think there was some confusion from the council as to what area are we talking about with Mr. Fink as far as along the flats and stuff. So Line Street or the private drive on the north side that connects to Line Street, that's where the storm sewer is. Acre Street, we have a sanitary or a water main through there, and there are some utilities through there. This time, we have not planned to do any sort of improvements because there weren't any improvements being made in the area. There wasn't any new subdivisions going in, there wasn't any large construction project going on that would necessitate an improvement, enhancement to that road. Conversations have gone back and forth. I think, one of the ideas that was brought up from Mr. Fink, and I think the council members brought up, was vacate the west portion of Acre Street and sell it back to him. Keep an easement through there to maintain for the utilities that we have. And sometime in the future, if something does change where it decides to develop, the developer at that time would have to provide us with the right of way. One of the things, excuse me, we need to consider there is Don Wendling owns a portion of the road right away to the south side there. Because when we were looking at vacating a portion of that, we were looking at the end of where Don Rocky owns the property, basically where the asphalt stops right now. As far as the curb and gutter stuff. Well, you go back 300 some feet on the south half on Wendling's property, north half's of Mark Fink. Typically, when we vacate something, the adjoining property owner's ability to get out.
Sure, yeah.
That's where it becomes a little bit trickier than if that was to develop in the future and one property owner doesn't want to sell it right away, you can't develop it. That's something to consider, but at the same token, this has been a gravel street for more than 50 years. They did put millings on it. Last week, Jason, the guys did go out and patch holes on it. But this is a council decision as to how you want to proceed or what your thoughts are. On doing, this is 740 feet, is the length here. What Mr. Bankett got bids for, to surface that was 2.5 inches thick of asphalt, 14-foot wide, 740 feet. That was just shy of $20,000. 14-foot wide is not wide enough for two cars to pass each other.
Fine.
What else did you find out, or anything else?
Basically, everything on, like you said, we looked at Acre Street, appears to be 66-foot road right away. Some other things Tim said there basically confirmed as far as the thoughts along Line Street, there are easements for the water, utility easements. There's a road reservation for right in the north side. That goes from where the end past the Chesmore lot one. The rest of that road is by easement, not private easement, this side is a private road. And we've got multiple, we got all the documents together, we can forward those, quite a few that make up those. the history of that. But it's pretty well documented.
So to simplify this a little bit, we'll call it March Road.
Mhm.
Who owns March Road?
The city of Manchester owns the right of way, to, the end of it, I mean, it's platted.
So it's the city's road and we have,
740. Yeah, it's the city's right of way.
then we own 66 foot of
With,
width all the way down through.
correct.
Go ahead.
Acre Street isn't 66 feet wide. It's 57.4 feet.
Okay.
I'm glad we got this guy. Okay, so 57.4 foot wide,
It's
all the way down,
It's like 87 lanes wide. It's weird.
and that goes all the way
Were you
to,
the surveyor that did that?
No, that was platted in.
That was in 1800s, wasn't it?
Yeah. And if you look at the plat I did for when Palmer bought it,
You do one lane?
yeah. It shows it on that plat is 57.4 feet wide. It's not 66.
So it's not our normal 66 foot right of way, it is a 57.4,
Something like that, yeah.
so
does the city have a right to pave all 57.4 foot wide? To
if
make
we
it
wanted to, we could, yes.
Which would cost $20,000.
more?
Oh, yeah, more, if we do the right slope. Yeah, 14 foot wide.
Yeah, we could build that out as a normal city street, 34 foot back to curb,
Mhm.
and do the full length
But we'd be open to get some sort of
return.
return on that if there was gonna be investment out there of apartment complexes
Something like
and
that.
housing and. And we only have one house.
And, part of that, there isn't water and sewer on the eastern portion of that. But you'd want to put your utilities in first before you paved over top of it, so you didn't have to do that, I think.
For building up that road, we're talking about a whole brand new road rebuild.
Yeah, it would be total reconstruction at that point. The problem is, we really can't serve sewer down through there without septic system. Or another lift stations. Because the elevation for the sanitary sewer on Fourth Street is not deep enough to do gravity on the way back.
How many other streets do we have in town that are not paved?
Well, you have Jasper's, Jason, when we have from streets of the page. Not very many. No, the only thing I can think of is people getting confused on Jasper Street.
And I mean, the alleyways are the less different than one, but.
So what if you did vacate it and you let Mr. Wendling and Mr. Fink decide who wants what of it?
Yeah, that's potential, but the challenge is that if something was to happen in the future where that was future development, you have to get a willing seller of both sides. If they're not willing to part, and we ran into this, when Hausers owned the land up there, he kept 1 foot
Yeah,
of it so that you could not access the road right away off of his properties.
Ran into this.
Yeah,
oh, yeah, that's right.
So vacating is not a good idea. That's gonna limit us.
I would caution against it because of the fact that we have, it's not owned by one property, it's owned by multiple people, so.
So we can't vacate it with a clause with some type of fallback clause that if that gets developed.
No,
Those are days that would be very hard to enforce.
Right,
if you vacate that road,
and who's to say the legislature won't change the rules on how to do that?
That's true.
if we vacate it, then we potentially cripple future councils.
Right,
They'll just sit here and head. We
Right.
don't know what the future looks like 50 years from now.
Well, we've run into it in other subdivisions where they didn't pay to the end of the subdivision,
Yeah,
and now you have to have that expense added on when you want to extend it. For a new subdivision. So,
Well, I don't want to spend the money to pave it and put it, I mean, because basically if we pave it, I think we have to do the water and sewer now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just foolish.
I think,
And I don't see that we have that kind of money.
Well, I think you gotta look at the payback on the property tax for the one resident that's back there. I don't know how that would be set up, but. Look it up in Beacon, I suppose would be the way to look that up, what is the property tax?
Well, that's all taxed as ag land right now, so there,
Oh,
so
we might get $14-15 a year out of that.
certain properties we do,
For a $20,000 project, we get.
Be better off with that. It's 20,000 if you make it 14 foot wide.
Right.
yeah. Now, I will say we have done some streets where we surfaced them, we did not do improvements. We just baited them until we have a chance to actually do a street project on them. Some of the cul-de-sacs, on the southeast side, they don't have curb and gutter on them, they're just asphalted in. It was cheap, to get them to pass through. I think Woodland's one of them, we also did. Again, it buys us time because there's not a lot of traffic on it, it does go down. Elm Street on the west side of Fourth Street, is a narrow right of way, a narrow street width, and it serves 3 houses. And that was put in just to get, that was a small project, it was right there. So yeah, it's a weird circumstance. But if it's gravel, we blade it twice a year. If it's asphalt, right now they get buildings and we're putting patch down. It's a couple $100.
What, where's like, don't recall, but where's Mark gonna be as far as the financial contribution on his end? Has he talked to you about that? I can't remember. I know I had the conversation with him, but it's been a while.
Is he willing to do a cost share?
I can't speak to that. I know he's brought something up, that when he looked at this 12 years ago, 10 years ago, it was $10,000 at that time to do it, and he thought you put 5,000 for it.
When he talked to me, it sounded like he was willing to do half of the 14, but that's not gonna touch it.
Mhm.
Even if you do just the Band-Aid? How much do you think?
Well, that's that 19.
That's the 19.8, okay.
Yeah, cause he had mentioned he'd do half, and then he'd do the shoulders. if
Mhm.
needed.
Yeah, I think I would like to figure out some way where we can get him to be able to talk to us together, all of us together and kind of hash out as far as cost savings and.
Here's the meeting.
Yeah,
This is.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know, just from where I come from, is it being one of the few streets in town that's not paved, and everybody else has got a paved street, and everybody else is paying
Mhm.
for all these, I mean, he doesn't have a paved road, but he pays for paved roads. It's kind of the way I look at it. So I mean, we did it for 3 houses before. I mean, I understand it's only one there now, today, but what's 10 years from now? Are there 3 more houses sitting out there?
I have a question. Can we do a friendly amendment to table this until we get more opinion?
There's no
There's
action.
no action tonight. We're
So,
not-
Okay.
Yeah,
we can
we're
discuss
just
this
talking
in the
about it.
Okay.
Committee, the whole meeting,
We're asking.
conversation, yeah.
We're just
I
having.
invite you then to,
Yep,
When are they in town to do Main Street?
that's a great question for Jason.
They're supposed to be here Thursday to start milling it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can't honestly tell you when they're gonna follow up the asphalt, but he didn't give me a firm answer on that.
And then the other project that we're doing this year?
On New Street,
Yeah.
Lasers,
That, I met with them this morning, and the way Craig made it sound was they wanted to try to do, they're doing a little curb, fix up there where it goes into the old annex, and they'd like to do them at the same time, so there's gonna be a 4-foot patch along there
Right.
for quite a few feet. So they can fix one driveway, come in, and he'd like to do them at the same time. And he just told, he knows that we'd like to have it done by the fair parade. He didn't give me a firm answer either, but he knows that he'd like to, so he's waiting on a contractor to do the curb part of it,
The locate came through this afternoon for the curves,
so,
and it's a substantial amount for.
yeah, it's about, I think it's over 100 foot, yeah.
So on the easement part of it, we are okay.
that's up to the judge. If he needs to sue us on that and take it to court, that's dependent upon the judge.
Okay.
Um,
I just want to know, get everything out on the table. as far as the cars, because I know that was one of the things he would push our way.
Yeah, and so the fact of the matter, there is an easement that was recorded for storm sewer. Property owner on both sides of the property. Challenge we have is the easement was not amended for what was actually put in place. But the pipe has been in the ground for 55 years.
How are we gonna pay for this?
What was, certainly,
For the, West Main, if we were, or West Acres, we were paying,
He wants to,
we could use the road use tax funds.
I'm sorry, he's what?
Our road use tax funds. Yes. If we're covering half the cost, which would be about $10,000, Eric can find them.
well, when we're doing ministry, we took out clerk, right?
Correct.
We had, so.
We had some left over from the 50,000 small project fund. I think we had 11,000 left over now.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we have a little bit of kitty right there.
Correct.
So we'll be talking more if he's willing to.
To do that, we would have the remainder of what was left in that small project fund.
And during that time, can we amend the easement if we can talk him?
If he's agreeable and amenable to it.
That would be the time to do that.
Right.
I guess
I would like to see that wrapped up.
if there's a question about tying this together to encourage payment. Get the easement form updated and formalized, I mean, cause that would take it out of what Tim said at this point.
Exactly.
There was a lawsuit, it'd be the judge's
Yep.
opinion, interpretation, whether that pipe in the ground means more than the written easement.
And it's definitely gonna decide on. As much as people wanna believe it or not, whether or not that is a Democratic or a Republican judge is gonna make a difference. So,
That's case law, I think, comes over on now.
yeah, but I'm saying as far as like who he's gonna side with, the entity or the civilian.
That's, again, we don't know if there might have been anything in the council minutes or anything that adjusted that or didn't get recorded.
Yeah.
So if there is an easement in place that signs, it's not recorded, it's still, that's some.
Some validity.
Just one in the things we found, and this kind of ties to the process of approving subdivisions or not, and again, it comes to the P and Z, you guys. The one subdivision off Line Street, the Foots development, there is language in that subdivision that says any street work in the future would be assessed to the properties. The council have gotten away from putting that in subdivision agreements because the intent would be if you approve the subdivision, you think there's gonna be street there, they build it. But even in the most recent one here with Soggy Bottom, that's Line Street again, it waived any improvements, and it's a private street there. I think everybody understands Line Street's a private street, but that's again, those actions commit or
Oh, I see what you're
take
saying.
power away from future councils.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
If if you don't include that clause, that future street improvements would be paid, because there is a whole debate, there could be the question, okay, Acre Street's been platted for 100 and so long time, 1800s, but the city has never paved it or surfaced, it's always been that, so some of these other streets the city's paved, well, the city built and maintained those, or the developer built them at some point in time. And the city resurfaced, and there's always different scenarios in different situations, if is 14 foot acceptable because there's only one person back there?
Right, yeah.
Probably, I mean, how many people in the meter, Mark and his family,
Mhm.
but is it to the city street standards? No.
That's where I'm wondering if we could shave, cause he doesn't need 14 feet, if we're gonna allow it. That, a smaller street, maybe we could shave a little bit of money off that, go down to 12 feet or something like that, if we're not gonna.
I would say with what he's
Yeah.
driving, 12 feet would get destroyed a lot.
Yeah, it will, yeah,
What
cause
he's
he's gonna
driving
be
down there.
driving dump trucks and it's, but
Just that.
that's the one thing I'm looking at, to shave off a little bit of expense too.
But your maintenance over time might be higher.
Right.
Yeah.
That type of
Yeah.
thing.
Might save money up front, cost you more on that.
Down the road.
But those are just something to think about when you're reviewing subdivisions is, like Tim said, if you vacate Acre Street today, you might handcuff people in the future, so. I'm always conservative with right away saying, don't give it back, keep control of it as an entity, so you don't.
Well, it's hard to get.
It's hard to get, yeah, people, people are much less likely to give it than to. When they buy it, they're gonna wanna buy it for pennies, and when they sell it back to the
They
city,
want them, they want more.
they want
Yeah.
full utility, everything built up, so. Those are just some of the things that tie to the conversation, not that it's a bad thing to surface all the streets in town.
They feel like you have good direction here.
Basically, we're gonna ask Mark to come back to our meeting in July.
Mhm.
And if you have conversations with him, see where your thoughts are as far as cost share on it, what you guys want to do.
And updating these.
And updating these.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be beneficial for us if we did big, to get the easement straightened out.
Or if he wants to come in and start talking to you prior to July too, that's fine. Okay. Everybody ready to move on? Okay, all right, do we do engineering first or department heads? I can choose since we didn't put him on there. Well, I told Tim since he was the first one in here, he can go first. You wanna go first, Tim?
Speak up if you're gonna be back there. Speak up or come up here so we can hear. It's on camera.
A1's coming along up there, they still putting the roof on it, but all the metal's pavement, flooring and electrical, outside, doing sidewalk, get ready for the flooring. Verizon showed up today, Venco did for the antenna, that's gonna be going on top of City Hall over here, so we're working on that for the next month. Said, we did finally get 2 new house permits this last month, it's the first 2 for the year, so hopefully that'll start kicking in. And then, they ordered to clean up 308 Lincoln Street, which we're gonna do tomorrow, but we shut it back till Friday because of the rain tomorrow. So we go in there, clean up that yard, just right. But it goes with-
Okay.
But
No, thank you, Tim. Okay, Doug.
All right, we're full blown mode right now, so dog park is up and running, everything's going well there. I had the street department for a couple of cement pads for a couple of benches near the entrance. Give people a chance to kind of be close to the entrance when dogs come in and out, keep track of the dogs a little bit better. But it's been well used, been well taken care of, no issues, so far so good. Disc golf course, relocating that, I'm waiting to meet with Cam Miller to remove some underbrush and some smaller trees and relocate those holes. Basically kind of map out and lay out the holes that are gonna go through the woods, in between the wastewater treatment plant and the dog park. So hopefully this week we can get that laid out, cleared out, and then start moving, start reinstalling the baskets and the concrete T-pads. And then ideally, hopefully, July 1st, we will be ready to roll. Be close. The pool today was busy. Today was a very busy day at the pool, not only because it was hot, but because also swim team started and swimming lessons started. So we've had a up and down start to the season. It's either been really, really hot or really, really cold. So a couple of issues that we've had. We're still losing some water somewhere. Haven't quite figured out where. Perry and Chad are kind of helping out with that. We're gonna try to get to the bottom of the location of that here in the next week or so. Nothing major, but we're still losing some water. Our pool heater has had a heck of a time trying to keep up with the cold weather. So, the pool water temperature has been cold since we've opened. Today we got up to 79. When I left there at about 3:30, we want to be about 81 to 83. But it's gonna be cold at the end of this week. Tomorrow rain's not gonna help, so pool heaters, it's working, but it's just not quite.
It's working better and has, never mind, I'm not saying.
Yeah, you already jinxed one thing, so don't think.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, so it's running, it's just hard to keep up when the weather gets cold. And, you know, so, it'll be a little cold for swim lessons this week, and hopefully the weather takes care of that, and we can shut it off and let the sun and Mother Nature do the rest of the heating. The one bad thing that happened last night was our dolphin died, and that's our pool vacuum. So that is our robotic pool vacuum. It died last night. I messed with it late last night, could not get it running. I cleaned her out real good, took it apart, put it back together. I'm gonna try it sometime tonight after the pool closes. It's, so what it is they are robotic vacuums that kind of go around and suck up everything off the bottom essentially. We have had this style of Dolphin vacuum for the last, well, since I started 17 years ago, when we first went away from it. They typically last somewhere between 3 and 5 years. I think this would probably be our fourth one that we've had over that span. This one, we're starting season 4. I thought I could get this year out of it and possibly next year, but it doesn't look likely. The last one we had, we did get 5 years out of. So I made a call today to our pool rep to get a quote for a new pool vacuum. The ones that we've had are typically about $4,000 to $5,000. They last about 3 to 5 years. There's a newer version out that's a big industrial pool vacuum that is about $12,000. Cleans a lot better, lasts a lot longer. They would come on site and map out our pool. I don't know if it's GPS necessarily, but they insert the coordinates of the pool. And it is a smarter pool vacuum that won't get caught around anything with the cord. It doesn't go into the places it shouldn't and get stuck. So they would come, give the coordinates of the pool, and then train us on it. And since it's a little bit bigger, a little more industrial, the usage would be a lot less. We'd go once or twice a week instead of 4 or 5 times a week. Problem is they're about $12,000 and we weren't expecting that cost to come up. So I asked him to give me the details, the quote for it, by tomorrow, so I can include it into the next council, agenda. And then we can see where we're at, but currently we're without vacuum. So it's not the worst thing ever, but it will be a problem in a week or two when we have accumulated all the other stuff that, accumulates on the pool. So we could go back to going the same old Dolphin, do another one for 3 to 5 years, or we can look into getting a little bit heavier duty one. There's a couple communities that have gotten them in the last, Monticello just got one last week. Vinton has had one for 2 years, and I have spoken with Vinton, and they love it. It works really well for them. But again, I'll give the information. You guys can make a decision. I'm assuming if we were to do it, we could hold that bill and pay it next year and still get the Dolphin in, and then have him come and do the coordinates and train staff on proper usage and so on, cleaning and everything else. But that was one I wasn't expecting, popped up last night. So at least we got a chance to talk about it here tonight. Otherwise, lessons are going. Youth soccer starts next week. Beckman Sports Complex is every night pretty much, and quite a bit of weekend as well. So that's full blown right now. The Whitewater Park is starting to see an uptick in usage as the weather gets nicer. We have River Days coming up Thursday, Friday, Saturday of this upcoming weekend. There's one thing that with River Days, they are bringing in a stage for a band, and the electrical that we utilize for all of our bands is on the building. They want to, this is the chamber, they want to set the stage up on what would be the west side of the grassy area out in front of the shelter. So it would be facing, essentially it'd be facing like Burger King and Riverbend. Problem is there's no electrical. There's electrical there, but there's not enough electrical to support the band. So I'm having Mark Becker add a 50 amp outlet on there so we can plug in our what we utilize for all the bands. Essentially it gives them a bunch of circuits so that they don't have any electrical issues. So he'll have that up and ready to go. One of the downsides is that I know I've had complaints in the past when we do this is Burger King can't hear drive-through traffic,
Right.
but they can't hear it on a normal band facing a different direction either. So I requested the chamber to speak with them and let them know that would be happening over the next few days this weekend. But otherwise, I think the setup's nice. I think they'll be able to get the stage in there. Electrical will help out nicely. So I don't think there's any real issues other than what we kind of spoke about. So, but it'll be busy down there this weekend, definitely. As far as the parks go, we're busy, a lot of grad parties, a lot of get-togethers, definitely the grad parties at Siebert and some of the bigger shelters. And then I spoke with Josh Demmer from Metrics Architecture about Baum Park, so he's going to get construction documents and bid sheets ready to roll, and then we'll get those out, and see where they come back from. And then at 7 o'clock tonight, I'm going to meet Master Gardeners in Baum Park. They are looking to put an archway up and over the trail. So I don't have a whole lot of more details other than that. And so I just want to make sure if this is a project that they want to do, that it fits into our maintenance, our snow removal, and looks nice and so on, but I don't have any other details other than that, so.
Is there, are they gonna be able to, because all the music is playing till 9 o'clock or later this year, are we gonna be able to have the bathrooms so they'll stay open?
Yep.
You won't have to. put
Yeah, we
them
can,
on
we can shut the block off. Yeah, we
Okay.
can shut the electric block off.
That'd be great.
So there's music every
Thursday night, 6 to 9, Friday night, is it 6 to 9 or 6 to
I
10?
think it's 6
But-
to 9.
It's 6 to
It might
9.
be 10, but I think it's 9.
Yeah, 6 to 9, and I'm not sure what time Not Quick Brothers are playing.
I'm not either, Connie. I think
But
it's
aren't
6
they
to
on
10.
Franklin?
Yeah.
They're on
They're on
Franklin,
Frank.
they're on Franklin,
And
and
I
then,
think the sign says.
yeah,
10.
Detours in the amphitheater, and then the Sushi Bowl is gonna be on the west side there.
Yeah.
So are they gonna be facing the east, looking east?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll be sit, and there's another conversation, doesn't need to go in depth now, but we have the drainage, we have that, called a manhole there. So they're gonna set up right over top of that, so,
Oh.
cause it dips down and it's kind of a trip hazard. I would like to look into maybe leveling that out or somehow, how it goes down. We don't really have any water.
It's just in our service water.
No, we're even.
In that grassy area.
West side, middle of it, it's got that dip down with the manhole grates in it. There's a lot of dips. It's the big one, it's the big one. What if we could somehow get that out
You don't like it?
there?
We probably have to put a space on and a beehive on it and then just level the ground off a little.
Because when we're looking at how to set it up, it's really just kind of in the way, and it's also, you gotta dip down where it's at, it's kind of a little bit of a trip hazard, a little bit of a, I don't know if it's. So, yeah, obviously not for this upcoming weekend, but just for the future, because they would be able to, it would just allow for a lot more green space, usable green space, so,
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
thank you.
Anybody else have questions for that? No, okay, all right.
Oh, yeah, I had one question.
Yeah.
Vacuum, the new vacuum, the more expensive one, what was the life expectancy on that?
I don't know that yet. I'm assuming it's 10+ years, but I don't have the exact details, warranties, anything like that. I'm hoping I'll have all that for you for Monday, but I don't have the details other than what he's spoken to me about.
Okay.
I just know that it's a big, heavy duty, much more,
It's like a street sweeper 1 year.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I'm assuming that would be at least 10. So.
Too soon.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not sure it's been out for 10 years, so I don't know if the life expectancy would just be written on paper or not. It's fairly newer. I think I know about it for 3 years, so.
Oh, okay.
Ben, I'm gonna let you go next.
I really don't have anything, I'm younger, but not super young. One thing I would offer up to all the council members, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. I pay attention to social medias, I pay attention to the posts that come up around here. Lots of information goes out. We've hired a lot of new officers here in the last year that have been here, anniversary plug for me. But if you guys want to ride with these guys, I authorize that. If you really want to see the quality of officers that we're bringing into Manchester, I highly suggest that you take advantage of it. Even if it's not for an entire shift, I don't expect anybody to come in right for 10 hours. But get to know these guys, get to know what they're about, what their motivations are. You get to see the expertise, even the one guys that are uncertified. They've really grown with the roots already in a short amount of time. And they're really taking all the advice of some of the veteran guys under their wing. So if you're bored on a night, we always appreciate the company, and it goes for citizens too. Get to know these guys. They will be part of the community for what I hope will be a long time. And don't believe within this information. If you have something, come down to my office. Everything you redo is recorded. I'd be happy to show you. So, all right.
Ben, is there any way that some of these new guys can like stop up the wastewater plant, or I haven't met.
Yeah.
Like 6-year guys, so.
Yeah, so.
I mean, we used to have get-togethers where everybody would meet and know each other, but a lot of them guys are gonna be responding to the wastewater plant to an alarm.
So a lot of our certified guys,
because of the mannings that we've had, they've come straight to nights.
Yeah,
So it's been like a month of, here's our policies, here's how we're doing stuff. And then we strand them with the red flag at night. But we can have some of our uncertified guys come down and meet everybody. and
yeah, it'd be
figure out
nice
the
to
time.
know who, in the middle of the night, if I get an alarm, I have to go out there, yeah. I'm gonna know the guy that's standing at the gate waiting for me.
Maybe, we implemented a department meeting once a month. Maybe next month or the month after, we just have everybody come down and show them everything. That way everybody get eyes on them.
That'd be great.
Any other questions for Ben? No, thank you, Ben. All right, Jason.
Yeah, I'm just gonna bring up something real quick and Ben can help me with this, but there's been a lot of questions about the pedestrian, push button at Union Street. There was a post evidently on Facebook or something out there about how it's supposed to operate, and, we just kind of want to get it out there that then the best practice is to stop until the lights go out. It is yield to a pedestrian, so I'll let Ben.
Yeah, so if they hit the button and the light is flashing, you're supposed to yield and watch for pedestrians, right? But again, nighttime, low light, everything with the distractions in a vehicle now. We just had an accident there last week, right, where a vehicle was rear-ended because one vehicle stopped, one vehicle was not paying attention. Okay, so I have to ask myself, play devil's advocate, what would happen if that one vehicle that did stop, wasn't there and didn't stop? Would that other vehicle, for whatever distraction purposes, possibly hit the pedestrian? Right? Best practice, again, we're not saying that my officers are gonna cite people and things like that, but for your own safety and liability, for pedestrians and motorists, wait till the lights are off. Right? Same thing goes for your typical traffic light, right? Yellow does mean caution, but does that mean you should accelerate and push through it? Probably not, right? Not inherently illegal per se, but not best practice, right? Because, you know, we're not mind readers, you can't understand what a pedestrian is thinking just so much, and the pedestrian doesn't know what the driver is thinking. Right? The lights are there for a purpose. It is a very busy intersection, especially now since the summer, when kids go to the park every hour of the day until they close, right? The lights are set up for 15 seconds, we think, 12 to 15. 12 to 15 seconds out of your day is not that important to somebody's life. Stop at the flashing lights until in my opinion, stop at flashing lights until everybody is clear, right? Again, we have a lot of young people in town. And just because they hit the button doesn't mean that they're not paying attention, either they don't have their face in the phone, and they don't wait till that last minute to cross because they didn't even notice the lights. And we can't anticipate what pedestrians and motorists are doing, like. So if the lights are on, I think it would be best practice just to sit and wait and ensure your safety, the pedestrian's safety, because nobody wants that on the conscience either. So.
Lacrosse is very strict on theirs up there, like where the hospital is up there on the main drag. Yeah, when the lights go off, you run that, you usually get cited.
Yeah, I don't want, it's easier, it sounds bad, I'd rather respond to a vehicle accident, right? Two vehicles striking each other than a vehicle striking pedestrians. Just because we want to wait an extra 4 to 5 seconds because the lights were flashing and we assumed that the intersection was clear, right? They're only activated by an actual person pushing that button. So somebody was at that intersection, push that button, right? If it's flashing again, it's just, please wait. It's seconds for somebody's life.
And if I can just add, as I remember this, when we put that in, we tried multiple times to change it, to make it even more strict, and the state.
The signage is, Ryan, I know we went through this, the signage is all
Yeah.
up to, I mean, what it has to be, I
Yeah.
mean, it's.
They would not budge, and
Yeah.
so some of this is out of our hands for how that is even lived there, because we got to go above and beyond what they even recommended.
Yeah.
And that's about as far as they'd let us go, if I'm correct. I don't, yeah.
The thing I keep hearing about it is, and I'm assuming you can't, but why isn't it red? It can't be red.
Because it's yield to
But that's,
pedestrians, yeah.
every time that conversation comes up, people say, why isn't it red? That means stop. So, because it's yield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to bring that up so everybody,
Thank
I
you,
know there's been a
Jason.
lot of questions on it, so.
We're working on it today, was there something?
Yeah, I got 2 bulbs that are out. I ordered them this afternoon, so, there'll be 2 bulbs on this. That's facing south, so those, I ordered them this afternoon. They should be in the next week, I would hope. But other than that.
Speaking of bulbs, Baum Park, did we forget about that one that he brought up?
North, the
Yeah, I talked
Yeah,
about,
yeah, I need to go out there sometime at night and take a peek at it.
It's still out.
It should have been replaced.
Is
So
that-
unless that one got missed,
No, it was working when the other two were off, and then when they got fixed, that one went off the very next week. Cause I walked there.
Is it,
should have been
is it
replaced.
north of, like,
The last one,
okay,
the last.
so is it more look like as you make the Ben Bryant?
Make it bend and start heading,
Towards the railroad.
back north. Yep.
Yeah, that wasn't in that project.
Oh.
That would be
explains
outside of
it.
that project.
And it just,
Yeah.
like I said, when you guys fixed the other two, then
Yeah.
about a week later, that one went.
Yeah, okay, good to know, so, yeah.
you wanna talk about flashing stoplight? That we're.
Oh, yeah,
looking at sign?
so I got a quote, I did it for four, like if we put up the new stop signs like over on, Marion and Fifth. It's about $2,200 to put the LED lights around for each one, so we'd be looking at, you know, he said $8,500 by the time shipping and that stuff to do
If
four.
we did 4 of them, but my thought is if we do 2 of them, because we don't put up these stop signs very often. Well, we can relocate them to where we put new ones up, you know, the traffic is adjusted to seeing a stop sign there as opposed to us putting up the flags that we have up there. Because in that intersection, there was only 2 of them that changed, the yield sign going north and no sign going west. So if we have 2 of them, that would be something we could use, they're solar powered, when we change them out, if we have an area that we're having problems with people seeing a stop sign, we can put it in there until something gets changed or order more if we need to.
Just to bring it up for conversation that, you know, that's an option for like when we do that. It'd be kind of like they operate about the same way as the speed signs do,
Mhm.
with just a solar panel above them, so. And that was, I just got who I get all my signage through, I got that quote from him, so that at least 2,200 I honestly can't say exactly.
Is that for 4 lights?
Just.
It'd be about, it was 8,500 for both. Yeah. Yeah. So, then, like I said, the milling is Thursday. I don't have a good answer for you on when the blacktopping will be back in. We will be assisting, hauling the millings, off, and I'll be taking those either to the shop or down at the brush dump and stockpile, and then we'll just see how they come out, and if we gotta rescreen them or not. That's gonna be Thursday, so our trucks will be doing that. We'll be doing the sweeping for all that when it gets ready to be paid back in.
Will that be a detour then going through there, or
It
you'll
should
have
be
it
a-
in lane?
it should all be as, you know, we should be able to move through as
Okay.
we're doing it, so.
Okay.
It's mainly just milling off
Mhm.
it's either 4 or 6 foot on the side, depending
Okay.
on what they decide to do, so.
Okay.
Other big things we got going is today we went up and cut all the patches on Hansel Street to get ready to start doing some full depth patching up there. I'm not real crazy about tearing into that tomorrow with the weather that they're talking about, and then Thursday, our crew will be helping with that, so I don't look for anything to happen on Hansel Street again this week. And then we're probably gonna start ramping up on some painting too, so things might get jockeyed around a little bit with those projects, but. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot else, so.
Any questions for Jason? No? Okay.
Oh, the street sweeper will get delivered 17th of June, but we won't pay for it till after July 1. And the camera, I don't know, if it's yet, okay.
I had a question about the culvert, that's over there by Macocata.
Yeah.
What did you find out, did you look at?
It's got some pinholes, I mean, I don't know that it's a lot worse than when we looked at it last year. I was gonna ask JJ, never got a chance today, if he took a picture of it last year, but I would say it's real similar from when we were down there and looked at it last year.
The culvert.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's all,
yeah.
okay.
We did take a peek at it today and I think it's.
I can't remember if I took pictures.
You got
I
it?
think it was like last
Okay.
year either.
I think I took
I
pictures
do.
last year.
Yeah, Doug said he's got one too, so I'll take a peek at that, but I think it's something that discussion will be coming here for future of what we wanna, direction we wanna go. I'd actually like to see that shifted further
Move it down.
to the
Yeah.
east.
Yeah.
And get it more in line with the channel when we get ready to do something there, but.
Right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. All right, Chad.
I've just been doing my normal summertime stuff, so we'll spend a lot of hours working on meters, Today was my favorite day of the month, shut off day, so, we've been busy running around town with that. So other than that, it's been pretty much business as usual.
Any more questions? No?
All right.
Okay. Are you almost done, are you almost done with the, Chad? Chad, are you almost done with the, fire hydrants? I mean, where are we at with?
They're painted.
They're all done now.
Matt's in the process of color coding the top of the fire department. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that and the tower been done 2 weeks on.
Okay.
So I got bacteria tests, all went good. I got all that put online.
Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Garrett.
Few things. All the money that we stuck into the UV system. We had our first month testing on that in May and it all passed, so.
Yeah.
We still have one rack that's causing problems, so we'll be sticking that same amount of money into that new rack, that other rack after July 1st. I was not at the last meeting. I think the last time I was here, we talked about firefighter number 1 being down for some repairs. In the process, I've been working with Lucas a little bit at Fairgram. In the remodel in 8 through 10, the interior baffles and weirs were not replaced in that, and while we had it down, there's a 19-inch baffle on the inside where the calm water sets to keep whatever's floating on top of it from going out the weirs. It's completely full of holes, the entire diameter of it. So Lucas is trying to find out where those originally came from, what we can get to replace them or cover them. So once we figure out what we're gonna do with clarifier number 1, we'll drain clarifier number 2 and see if it's having the same issue, since that one was not touched either in the 2010 remodel. Just a heads up that something may be coming down the line. We'll see what happens when Lucas finds out more. Other than that, spring oil, we got all our spring stuff done, so we're getting into the summer maintenance painting. That's doing quite a bit of work for Chad on fire hydrants. Other than that, Joe's subdivision out on the west side of town. They tied that sewer that we started go into the existing manhole that was there. I think there's 20 services that have been run. They're gonna move to the next road and run a little water and some stuff in there. They're adding a few more lots, so. It was originally scheduled for 24, and it's gonna be 28 services now, so we have to get a few more parts here in the next week or 2 to finish that up. So a few minor changes here and there with stubbing some water and sewer to some other possible development that he might have out there. Other than that, the big thing, if you're up on the north end, Comelec just been going like crazy. And their goal by the end of the summer is to have the trailer court, Fairview, Schulte, and all that. They're up, basically up to Hansel this next 2 weeks. And then after that, they will move up to Quaker Mill and into the trailer court. So we're trying to fend off the complaints of backfilling boxes and stuff. So if you hear of anything, just let me know. They're really good about going back and fixing stuff, so.
That being said, if we don't give it to Hansel Street before they get there, it'll get pushed down the road even.
Yeah.
They will be there this week, so. But other than that, nothing crazy.
All right.
Yeah, nothing. I was trying the whole time to think of something this morning.
Thanks, Perry.
Thanks, Barry.
Ready, Brandon?
Sure. Soon I'm done with that. So I don't have a whole lot, it's been really quiet, which is good, compared to the way the year started. We haven't had that call for almost a month. Yeah.
You're jinxing us.
I know.
Fading around. That's why you haven't gotten a page in a month.
So, other than that, like I said, I don't have a whole lot, waiting for the ISO guy to come back with some of his stuff. He's got all the paperwork that he wanted from me. I don't know if he got a hold of you at all.
I don't know if I told you this last month, we did get money from the railroad for the gear that we trash.
Yeah,
So we want to try and apply for a few other grants to see if we can either get gear or air pack money. See how that goes. Other than that, it's pretty, like I said, it's been pretty quiet so far.
we'll take it from what lasts, right?
And
Mhm.
we're playing with a car fire prop tonight, so I'll be bored and want to watch the fire.
Where at?
Right behind the fire station, in front of them.
Okay.
Real looking thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a trail. So, other than that,
Okay,
any other questions?
all right, thanks for your
Thanks.
easy,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you. So Jason, do you want to bring up that other part? I mean, it's kind of representing the same group, but.
Yeah, well, he's fire chief.
He's fire chief, he's gonna let you talk to the other business.
Yeah. So we're working on the preliminary plans for, now that my graduations season is over here, I can start thinking regularly again here and maybe a little bit more clearly than I have for the last couple of weeks here with the kids graduating. So working on the preliminary plans for the trail extension, which is the DOT grant project. I've talked to Tim and the department about maybe trying to get a meeting together with them next week, kind of look those over before we get ready to submit that on as a part of the preliminary process with the DOT looking towards letting in December, January. That'd be for construction next year, next construction season. I have contacted Pierce Tobin regarding the random crack up there on Grand Avenue. I would expect Steve Kleesner sometime here in the next couple of weeks, probably to come out here and address that. They'll be getting in touch with Jason Haight, and they're about ready to do that, so he'll be directly, they'll know when they're coming here to take care of that. They mentioned, you know, working with Wes, we'll see what happens there, and there might be additional information that we'll prepare for that as it relates to that. But those are the projects we've got going right now. Any questions I can answer from anybody?
Looks like you answered it all. All right, thanks. Ryan, did you have anything else?
Just a couple updates. We are progressing on the stormwater study for the downtown area, getting the models set up. It's actually on my desk to review kind of the catchment areas, so get that back to the modeling team then to finalize, and we'll sit back down with staff and run through some of the numbers after we have that. They'll probably be July timeframe for that one. Anderson Street, we are progressing with design on that, anticipate probably a review set for staff at the end of the month there.
Okay.
Looking progressing well. Bridge inspection was done. I think Sam shared that with you. We haven't received any questions or comments from DOT. Basically, we don't concur with it or accept it here in the future. So nothing significant or new, just kind of continued aging of it. So.
Okay. Anything else for Ryan? Okay, thank you, Ryan. Erin?
We are doing our first big payroll this week with all the seasonal employees in ADP. We've been using ADP to onboard those employees as far as their new hire paperwork. That has worked well. A little bit of chasing that, but that has to be done every year, whether it's paper or online. So Julie and I are both getting trained up on that, so we'll have 2 people that can cover payroll if one of us happens to be gone. So that's kind of the big thing right now.
Any questions for you?
Thursday, I have the selection committee ready to review the RFQs for the comprehensive plan. So we received 3 submittals, one from MSA, Snyder Associates, and ECIA. I've got 4 plans or requests for qualifications submittals for the West Mary Street Bridge. Are there any council members that would like to sit in on that and help with the selection of the firm?
I can do it if nobody else can.
When is that?
Well, we'll figure out a time that works best for the committee members, whoever's on that. It'll be myself, Jason Haight. I'll probably have Perry and sit on it as well, so. And we'd like to have mayor and 1 or 2 council members. But we did have 4 firms submit those, so.
Bridge.
We can do it on a Wednesday if yours can do it that way, Joe.
Yeah, and I'd be interested, I mean, obviously timing,
Mhm.
scheduling and stuff like that, so I mean, if it just ends up being to where I'm too much of a nuisance, so to say, as far as scheduling, then I can step away and let somebody else go after it if they'd like.
Okay, we'll try to set it up that way. I'll get a hold of everybody then and schedule time. We'll probably do it over do an hour if possible. Okay, so I have.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Brian?
No.
Linda? Mary Ann? Joe? Bill?
No, just glad to see the parks are opening up. I was shocked when I saw Strawberry's gonna open theirs back up. Cater's shutting theirs down because of must be a pretty good leak in that.
No, Gator is?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that.
Shutting theirs down. They're hoping to have it back open by the 14th of June, I think it's what they're hoping. So, but, no, didn't see that.
All right.
Nothing else.
Just hope to see y'all down River Days this weekend. So
Busy weekend.
It is a busy weekend. So anyway, with that, I'll take a motion from Mary Ann, a second from Linda, that we're adjourned, and we are adjourned.